everyone, welcome back to Feather Stitch House. My name's Rebecca and each week on this channel I make videos about embroidery and textile art to help you get creative. It's a really exciting day today. We are about to start our brand new project for 2025. I did do a live stream detailing everything about this and I will link that at the top of the screen. But to summarise, we are doing a project called Pick of the Pots. I've got 3 pots. One has colours in it, one has shapes in it, and the other one has stitches in it. We're going to pick from each pot each week and create a small piece of slow stitch textile art using different techniques, learning stitches along the way and just having fun with the materials in our stash. I'm going to start each video with the pick, and just so that you know that I'm not cheating, I am going to run a stopwatch on screen through it so that you can tell that I'm not putting anything back in or anything like that. So we are going to go totally random and hopefully have quite a lot of fun along the way. So this is week 1. I'm going to present my pieces in a little sketchbook that I've bought, and the details for that are down in the description below. If you want an extra challenge, you can head over to Ko-fi. There will be a link at the end of the video on the end card where you can join in my other weekly project this year, which is postcards from the hedge. And we're going to make a little fabric postcard each week to store in a photo box. So there is plenty going on for you this year if you really want to get into your slow stitch and embroidery. So gather wee bits and pieces and let's get picking.
Well, here we go. This is very exciting. I've got a stopwatch here just so you can see that there's no cheating going on. I'm not going to take anything out and put it back in to get a better option. It's our first pick of the pots for 2025. So this is our first ever pick out of the pot. So if you didn't see the intro video, this is our project for 2025. I have got over here a stack of felt that is cut. These are all the colours that I'm going to use throughout the year. So there's 53 of them actually. That's how many Sundays there are in 2025. I'm going to have to get used to saying 2025 instead of 2024. Lots of people have asked if I'm going to release all the colours ahead of time. I've decided not to because I want it to be a surprise. I don't want you to know what's coming up. But hopefully you can tell from this that if you just get a selection of felts in lots of colours, that will give you plenty of options. So there are some left field options in there, but you could do it on any colour background. The really left field ones you could do on any colour background. And yeah, if you just get a mixed pack, a multi-pack, you should be fine. Another way of doing it is to choose a colour for your background. So if it was me, I would choose something like an oatmeal like that, or some sort of natural fibre, or a white or a black, and you can add in any colours on top of that. So you can have a backing colour and then add in whatever colour we pick on top of that. So we're working on pieces that are 7 by 10 centimetres, that's 2 3/4 by 4 inches. And I've cut these so that there's a little bit of border and that will give me some trimming space. So I've added 1/4 inch or 1 centimetre border all the way around, so they're actually cut to 9 by 12, and then we can trim it down or not afterwards. I've also cut a frame so that I can lay this on my felt and draw around the inside so that I don't stitch beyond my frame. So I've just cut that out of grey board. I measured a 7 by 10 square and added a 1 centimetre border, and that should be enough to allow me to draw around it inside. I'm hoping it's going to survive the year, but if not, I can always cut another one. And we've got 3 pots. Can't remember which pot is which, but one of them has got 53 colours in it. One of them has got 53 stitches in it, and the other one has got 53 shapes in it. And so we're just going to pick one out of each pot each week, and then we'll improvise a piece of slow stitch. So I hope that sounds like something you're up for. So I'm going to start the stopwatch, and that way you can see that there's no cheating, there's not going to be any cuts or edits in this. So let's go into the grave hot first, give them a scooch about. And so what have we got in here? This is our shape for January, so we're starting with a splash. So that is the shape that we're going to work with. I'm glad it wasn't just square. So that's our shape pot. We have got Sheath Stitch. That'll be interesting to combine those two. So I'll teach you Sheath Stitch first, and then we can improvise our shape. So that's our stitch. So the red one is the stitch pot. So this is the colour, and we're using rust colour. Okay, so here we go then. This is our combination. I'm going to move my pots out of the way. Colour, stitch, shape. There we go. Let's move the pots out of the way, and this is what we're working with. So we've got rust coloured felt, sheath stitch and splash. That's our first pick. So I'm going to go and collect up some bits and pieces, and then I'll be back to teach you sheath stitch, and then we'll improvise something together. So I'll be back shortly. Okay, here we are. I've got some bits and pieces out. This is not a colour that I have loads of stuff for, and the ideal thing here would be to use some rust dye fabric. That would be perfect, but I've never rust dyed and I don't have any. So I've just picked out things that are the colour of rust. So here's my piece of fabric, and I've used my frame there to just draw around the aperture with my white heat erase pen. And because it's quite an unusual shape, I've got some interfacing because I've been having a think, and I think I've got an idea for the idea of the splash, which is why I've got all these bits of fabric. So the first thing I wanted to do was show you how to do sheath stitch, and there are a couple of variations. So I've knotted my thread. I'm going to come through my fabric and make a vertical straight stitch like that. Then I'm going to come up just to the left and make another vertical straight stitch, and then I'm going to come up just to the right and make another vertical straight stitch like that. So 3 straight stitches, roughly the same length, roughly evenly spaced. I know they're not quite even, but it'll do. So now I want to come up underneath that center stitch in the middle, and I'm trying really hard not to catch any of the fibers of the thread. So I've brought my needle up just underneath that center stitch in the middle. I'm going to slide my needle under that left hand stitch, take my needle over and go right to left underneath the right hand stitch, and go back down through the fabric at the center of that middle vertical stitch, but behind it. And when I pull through, that pulls those stitches in at the center, and it makes a little wheat sheaf kind of shape like that. So let me show you that again. So 1 vertical stitch, a vertical stitch just to the left, and then a vertical stitch just to the right, and then we're going to come up at the centre behind that first stitch, slide under the left hand stitch, hop over under the right hand stitch and back down at the centre and pull that in, and that creates a little wheat sheaf shape or bow tie shape. So there's a variation of this. I mean, there are several variations. You can try different lengths of vertical stitches. You can position the horizontal tie higher up or lower down. It's entirely up to you. But there's another variation called knotted sheath stitch, which is quite nice. So we make our 3 vertical stitches. And we're going to come up in the centre as before, slide under the left, and then we're going to slide under from the right, going right to left, just like before, but this time we're not going to go down through the fabric, we're going to come all the way through, and we want to make sure our needle passes through that loop that we've just made, like that. We're going to pull it tight, and then we're going to hop over to the right and pull through, and that puts a little kind of knot at the centre, so it's a little bit chunkier. So I've just got some new thread. I'll show you that one more time. So we're going to make 3 vertical stitches, up at the centre, under from right to left, loop it round and go under from right to left all the way through, and we want to pass our needle over that working thread so that we create a knot, and then we can go back over to the right and pull through, and that doubles up that loop in the centre, so we get a chunkier, hopefully you can see the difference, you get a chunkier knot at the centre. So like I say, you could add more vertical stitches if you want to, you could change the position of that tie stitch, you could make the 3 stitches different lengths, play around and see what you come up with. So that's how to do the stitch. So let's create a splash shape. I've got my little post-it pad here, they're not sticky. I want to create a splash shape, and the way I'm going to do that is to create some wavy lines, and you kind of have to just go for this. You can't mess around, you can't hesitate, because otherwise it's going to look artificial. So all I'm going to do is go in and out like that, and I can go back and adjust it, so I want my bulbs at the end to be bigger than the stem, so I'm going to splay out a little bit like that as I go. I want one to be much bigger. I'm going to actually add in another one there because I felt that looked too much like a person, like that, and I'm hoping that's going to roughly fit. So let's cut that out. You can just Google splash shape and you'll get loads of options, but let's just make a splash. Or you could create your own by just dropping some paint from a height onto a piece of paper and cutting around it. There's loads of different ways that you can do this. Now, splashes are random and it suggests something has been spilled or an accident has happened, and so I'm going to kind of work out how best this fits into my frame, and I'm going to want some bits coming off that, but that's a good start. So I want to bring my interfacing in, just sit it on top of my splash like that, and what I'm going to do is make a kind of crumb quilt. So I'm just going to snip up these little bits of fabric and lay them over the top. I don't want to go too much beyond the outline of my splash because I don't want to waste loads of fabric, but I'm just getting little snips here. Let's get in a different colour. I don't mind if there's some frayed bits, that's fine as well. And I'm kind of letting them fall because it's like a fabric splash. So we're using fabric instead of something wet, and just want to flip them over so that they're all the right way up, like that. So the rules I've set myself, I am going to allow myself running stitch. So running stitch is not in the pot because I'm going to allow myself that all the time, because I don't think you can really function without it. We can't do any textile techniques really without running stitch. Just trying to fill in some gaps. Just going to cover up as much of that. I want a complete fill of the shape, a bit like that, that'll do. So should have made it clear this is a fusible interfacing that I've got here, and I've got some baking paper. I'm just going to super carefully lift that up, just folded it in half so that I can cover over the top, because I've got quite a bit of interfacing exposed there. I'm just going to press over the top of that. So I've got a hot dry iron, and I'm just going to hold that over the top, let the glue on the interfacing melt. So this isn't bond web, there's not a paper backing to this, I'm just using what I had handy. So we're not going to peel off paper and glue it on, but there is a layer of glue and a sort of very fine mesh on the back. So that should hold most of, so it's fused to the baking parchment, should hold most of those fabric fragments in place. So now I can try and work out how I had it before. So things moved, it's not the end of the world. I'm going to get my fabric marker, my heat erase pen, because then that will disappear. Could have done this in the first place, in hindsight. Probably could have drawn around it first and then I would have got better coverage, but it's not the end of the world. So that's my splash shape. I can see that I've got some gaps, but I'm going to cut it out first and then we'll work from there. So I can use my fabric scissors because there's no paper involved. This is just a fabric mesh with a glue back, and you can use this to stabilise fragile fabrics. When you're cutting, don't forget to turn the fabric, not the scissors. You'll get a much more consistent cut. There we go. Right, I've got some little spaces here, so I'm just going to open up. Got some fabric still fused to the interfacing. I'm going to keep that for my little extra splashes. I just want to cover up any spaces that I've left behind. So I hope everybody's well for this first video of the year. I'm hoping for a 2025 that is an improvement on 2024. We're looking up, we're hopeful for 2025. So don't know whether you make New Year's resolutions or anything like that. I'm hoping to be outside a bit more this year. We're going to try and get out into the fresh air more than we managed to in 2024. And we're going to try and enjoy life a little bit more. I think with so much sadness last year, we kind of didn't prioritise fun. It never quite seemed right to be having fun. And so we're going to try and enjoy life, do things that make us laugh, do things that make us happy a little bit more. So that's our hope for the year. So I wonder if you've got any intentions or resolutions for 2025. You can let me know in the comments if you have. I'd love to hear how you see your year going. I think I've never really been one for New Year's resolutions because I do sometimes worry that they set you up to fail, but I do think it's good to have a bit of an outlook, a bit of a plan for the way you want your year to go. Because if you don't have any sort of sense of direction, you're lost before you even get going, aren't you? So I do like to have some sort of goal in mind for the year. I know a lot of people have words that they use. Oh look, I like it already. I keep forgetting I'm zoomed in, please forgive me. I'll try and correct myself. So I'm going to pop that there, and then we're going to use this extra fabric to try and create some drips that have sort of bounced away from our splash. So just some extra little splashy bits like that. Doesn't have to look amazing. Just trying to round them off a little bit. Like that. Oh, it's quite cute. I quite like that as a shape. I'm not really into, I like straight lines, me. Not really into sort of random shapes like that. There we go. I think that'll do. And so now we can stitch that down. So I'm going to start with just a single strand of my rust coloured thread. I quite like how the idea of the splash has led to the idea of fragments of fabric. So on one hand you're starting the year with something being broken or an accident, but I think I'm going to try and embrace the happy accidents this year. So I'm going to running stitch around the outside of this, keep my stitches quite close together. You could do a couple of rounds of running stitch if you wanted to. Just using a sharps needle, single strand of my rusty coloured thread. Quite like this fabric in the background. I think it's from Billow Fabrics. It's a wool blend felt. Should have told you about the felt. Sometimes I won't know, but this one I do. And it's called Mould Cider. So it's from Billow Fabrics. And it's a blend of wool and viscose. So natural fibres, but it's got this lovely sort of marley quality to it that I really love. So yeah, 2025. I wonder what's in store for us all this year. I know some of you are heading into the year with great trepidation because of lots of things that are happening all around the world. I'm not going to get political, don't worry. There's quite a lot of agitation and fear in the world, isn't there? But we're just going to have this little oasis of calm on a Sunday where we just sit and it's just us and the fabric and the buttons and the thread and a bit of stillness. I don't know if my microphone will pick up the ticking clock in the background, but I do find the tick of a clock very therapeutic. And we can just enjoy the calm and enjoy getting creative. Okay, I've stitched that down. Bring it up, hopefully you can see my running stitches all the way around the edge, and I've stitched those little extra splashes as well. I thought we could add our sheath stitches in a way that sort of adds to the splash, so have them coming out from beyond. So I'm just going to put in some guidelines, just going corner to corner like that, and then we can go across the middle. And 7, 1, 2, 3 and a half. So just, this is just to guide the direction of those stitches that I'm going to put in. Just want some radiating lines like that. That'll give me a bit of a sense of the angle that I need to put them at. I've got some of the variegated thread. I've got 3 strands in, and we can just add in some sheath stitches. So I'm just going to use those guidelines to steer me a little bit. 3 strands might be a bit chunky, but we can vary our thread thicknesses. That will be fine. So 3 strands. I really like doing these with a variegated thread because you get the different colours happening within the stitch. So I think I'm just going to start with, oh no, let's do some knotted sheath stitches first of all. So I'm using the eye end of my needle because I'm already catching fibres from the felt. Let's just put one in there, and I think I'm going to tie it off and go elsewhere. I don't want loads of threads trailing across the back. Let's put another one over here. So I'm aware that I need some more stitching on my splash as well, because those fragments of fabric aren't stitched down, they're just temporarily held onto the interfacing, and I don't want them to come off, so I don't want them to be insecure. I quite like that already. I think I need to zoom out a little bit because I keep going out of shot. So just little snips here and there, putting my sheath stitches in, and I think I'm going to add some more sheath stitches inside my splash as well, just to help attach all those fragments of fabric down. So just my 3 stitches. Let's just do a normal sheath stitch for this one, coming up in the centre, out to the left, over and down at the centre. So I'm just going to fill up this space basically with sheath stitches, just putting in stitches in different weights of thread in different colours, and some of them will be knotted. That's not very even. I'm not going to unpick it, but just radiating out from the splash. So nothing complicated here. I'm not going to make you watch me do it all, but there's absolutely nothing complicated going on. I'm just putting in sheath stitches to fill in that space. I want plenty of felt showing through because that's where the bulk of our colour is coming from, and then we can add some embellishments when we're done. So I'm going to carry on adding sheath stitches all the way around, and then I'll come back. Okay, here we are. I think I'm pretty much done. So I've gone around the edge with my sheath stitches. I've put one in the centre as well, just to hold down those little bits, and I've gone around with a little bit more running stitch, and I've put running stitch around the edge. So I'm just going to press it just to refuse any of that fabric in the centre. And I can trim it down a little bit. I haven't put any buttons and beads on. Maybe I'll do that in a second, just as a last finishing touch. So I'm going to leave a little bit of border, I think. Not trimming it right back to the 7 by 10. It'll have a tiny little bit of border. So that's it trimmed back. Let's have a look at these buttons and things. Definitely would like this one somewhere. Maybe I should have put that at the centre. Not sure about them being central there. Maybe I just need to scatter them. Worried they're gonna stick up too far. I don't know. Let's put this one on for starters. I've got some of my rust thread, which seems to be the most appropriate colour. So I'm just going to overlap it with my splash shape. A knot would help, wouldn't it? So it's been quite a therapeutic bit of stitching. Really simple, bit of fun with the fabrics in the background. I think I'm just going to leave it at that. So I'm going to grab my book. Here we go. This is going to go on the first page, and I'm just going to Pritt stick it. I hardly ever use glue for anything, but we're just going to put some glue on the back. So this is a stick glue, and I'm just going to put some blobs on the back just to help it stick. And get it straight. And that's our first page. So what's the date? Let's put in the 5th of the 1st, 25. And I thought as we're gluing, we could put our picks on the back. So I'm just going to pop a bit of glue on there. And there we go. So that is our first pick of the pots for 2025. A splash shape and sheath stitch on rust coloured felt. So I'm really looking forward to what you do. No doubt you will come up with something absolutely spectacular. Looking forward to seeing all the rust dyed fabric that no doubt is going to appear for this one. And yeah, I hope you have fun stitching. So thanks so much for joining me for this stitch along for 2025. If you want to share your first little piece, you can do that using hashtag FSHWingingIt2025, and you can join our brand new Facebook group. So that's just for this project, the Winging It 2025 Pick of the Pots project, and I'll link all the information you need for that in the description below. So you can post there, you can give feedback on each other's. It'd be great if as many people as possible could share their creations. I can't wait to see what you come up with. Have a great week stitching your first panel, and I will see you soon for next week's video. Take care. Bye.